question I'd love to hear Connor discuss is, what scares you the most? He is so fearless in his magic that it would be really cool to hear about what could possibly spook him out.
That's a good question. That's a real good question. I think what it mostly stems from is, and I've had many comments on this, you know, I've worked within every system I can find and every single path working I can find, and I just dive into it. I think the issue with many people is thinking with like where the fear comes from. They're afraid of these entities or forces. But I understand that the biggest fear is sort of what you have to put on the altar, so where you have to sacrifice sometimes in order to make these strides in evolution, in growth, and in your own becoming. So, for example, I just got out of the 9 demonic gatekeeper path working. Well, I say get out, there's no getting out of it. But I just finished the 9th gate. And in there, I realized that I'd have to put a lot on the altar to sacrifice in order to move forward. And what I mean by this is, sometimes if you are looking to grow or reach a certain standard in your life or quality in your own being, there are certain obstacles and hurdles that you aren't even aware of. There can be people in your life that are these obstacles, and some of them could be people that you love. And many of us are blinded by the fact of wanting to keep these individuals in our life, that we allow it to go on. And when I first started with Bilal, I was actually in a completely different relationship than what I'm in now. And Bilal woke me up massively and said, like, you're in a toxic relationship. Like, you want to grow, you want to do this, you want to do that. You're talking about building an empire, but you can't even do what's necessary here for your own mental stability, your own financial stability, and everything like that. And so I think one of the biggest fears of many people is sort of what you have to sacrifice. But me, what do I fear? It's very difficult, because I think I've put so much on the altar so many times now. It's like, I allow, if destruction is needed in my life in order for something to blossom from the ashes of it, then so be it. That's sort of the attitude I take now, where it's like, I understand something needs to be destroyed in order for it to be reborn, or I understand the destruction and creation process and cycle. What am I scared of in spirituality? People, I say, more than anything. Like people say, are you afraid of demons? Are you afraid of angels? Are you afraid of the dead? I'm like, no, because in many instances, people who figure out how to wield these powers, sometimes, you know, because we aren't sort of at the level of some of these beings sometimes, you know, as far as maturity goes, a lot of people wield this haphazardly, you know, or people within the community will misuse their own magic on other people just to be leeches or manipulators. So yeah, I think I'm more afraid of people than I am anyone else. And but even that is slowly going away with time.
Yeah, and my father would always remind me, you know, the living will hurt you more than the dead. And that always stuck, and that's always proven to be true.
That's very true. That's some good wisdom right there. My grandparents, I mean, I lived with my grandparents after living with my father and going through all that stuff, and they told me the same thing. Like, sometimes I'd walk in and they knew I would do rituals. They gave me a whole room just to do rituals. And they said to me, they were like, every now and then I come downstairs and I'm sort of like in this state. And many people think that a spiritual revelation is sort of like this. I'm peaceful. Yes. Actuality is spiritual revelation. You're like this in the corner, losing your mind. That's what it really looks like. And so they would say to me that no matter what's happening here, we don't fully understand it. You want to be afraid of mostly of the living than the dead or spirits. And I would hear that I did quite a lot throughout my life. And it's so true. It's so true. Most evil I've seen committed, it's just all by humans, you know. People like to brush these devils or demons with the brush of evil or cynicism. And I think to myself, no, that's not true. We have great potentiality to do good. I do believe that, but we unfortunately do sway to the more darker side or the more evil side of things, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. I find the spirits are mostly indifferent, you know? They're like, if you're going to do what you're going to do, don't pin it on me, you know, that's
Yeah,
stuff you got to work through, you know. So
exactly.
for Connor, when a ritual was going all wrong, how was it recovered and still solid manifested result? Okay.
All right, so this is what I will say about when rituals sort of go wrong. So most of the time when rituals go wrong, it's normally due to the fact of what you're doing after the ritual. So this is what a lot of people don't realize. I've had so many people come to me and do rituals, and they've done spells before they hire my work or my ritual work, and they go, yeah, I don't see what happened. I don't see why this didn't work. And I'm like, what did you do afterwards? They're like, I didn't do anything. And I'm like, well, that's probably your first problem then. you know, magic is, it's not just the ritual, it's not just the spell, it's what you do afterwards too. It's like I was having a discussion with somebody about this, and we were debating about it. And I said, well, let's put it this way. If you done, let's say, money magic, you done something for financial gain or getting a better job, whatever. If you just done a generalized spell, don't expect to just sit down in your home being lethargic and being lazy, not doing anything. Like somebody's going to come and knock the door and hand you a briefcase full of money. You know, it does not work that way. Because magic is normally, it works through circumstances, it works through certain situations. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is sometimes the certain avenue that the spirit can work through to manifest this just isn't available yet. That's why it's important that you do the physical work afterwards. You know, when rituals do go wrong, it's normally because of lack of foresight. That's why I won't do a ritual in time. I analyze it at all different sides of the spectrum, because you can't just stop calling spirits and just sending them out willy-nilly. You know, you have to think about, well, if I do this, it's also possible that this happens as well as this. And this is science after all. You know, the occult was referred to as an occult science. And I believe that's what it is. It's just an illogical science. That's what magic is to me. It's the illogical science. So I would say more planning is needed and required. And don't necessarily worry about any mistakes that sort of happen in a ritual. Just try again and try again. Magic is trial and error, trial and error.
Absolutely. And how do you feel about doing divination before performing magic? Do you think, you know, that's kind of a thing that's out there? What are your thoughts on that?
So I think my thoughts are very different on divination compared to a lot of other people. So I used to use runes specifically. I used to love casting runes to do for divination. I also dived into tarot readings, but runes were my favorite. And I've done all forms of divination, and that's fine. I think divination can sort of give you a better idea of what's going on. However, I don't do divination much anymore, for the simple reason of I was picking up on all different things, all different readings and all different results. And then I started looking at it at more of a soul travel aspect. Through soul traveling and transversing different planes, you understand, you know, there are multiple timelines and there are multiple waves of time, I suppose, or layers of it, whatever you want to say. And the issue is, when you're doing a divination, which one are you picking up on? You know, because there are multiple timelines that are forever changing. And I believe that sometimes by performing a certain action, we're shifting into timelines, different timelines. So I've had people do readings for me, for example, and they've been accurate, but they're accurate about something that would have been the case years ago if I didn't make a certain decision. And then I'm like, well, it seems as if you're almost picking up on a different timeline entirely. So it's sort of, it all depends on your skills in divination. If you can specifically harness your focus and your entire direction into the definite timeline, then yeah, divination is awesome. I would also say consult your spirits. You know, if you've got any matrons or patrons, consult them. Sometimes this is as basic as, and a lot of people don't realize this, sitting down with yourself and sort of just meditating on what you're about to do, and sort of get the feel of the energy and get the sense of it, because there are many forces and intelligences out there that are surrounding you at all times and you're not aware of it, and they'll guide you through that process. You normally won't, it might not be a verbal communion, but it'll sort of be like them stimulating certain thoughts or certain ideas in your mind, and then you can act on that.
Yes, absolutely. That's an amazing answer. Thank you for that. I can't remember the last time I've actually performed a divination for myself. I do them for others. Um, but for myself, yeah, I just do as you described. You know, you sit with the spirits that you are working with, or even just with yourself. And after a while, that's the best thing that you can do, you know, to get that feel. When I do readings for others, I always explain it's like a weather forecast. There are so many variables involved. So this is just if you continue on the path that you are on right now without changes, this is, you know, what is going to occur. And you touched on it, and that's the best explanation I have actually heard yet. So thank you so very much.
You're more than welcome. I mean, I like how you said it, you know, that there are many variables. I think this is what's important for anyone who's doing divination to tell their clients or to tell these people. Sometimes I see people who come to me for divination and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't offer that service, but I can sort of give you recommendations. But here's the thing, it's like many people who will do divinations and that I've seen, they'll start to dive into people's love life and say, like, you get some people out there, not all of them, of course. You get some bad eggs out there. They'll say stuff like, "Your boyfriend's cheating on you," or stuff like that. And sometimes that reading, you know, it's not entirely accurate. It could have been, like you said, one of the variables. It could have been he's thinking about it. It could have been the opportunity arise. It could have been a million things. But often not, as the person who's reading and doing the reading, sometimes they draw conclusions from it, and they're drawing that from a place that's within themselves, unfortunately, and
Yeah.
superimposing that onto the divination. So then the results come through, and people listen to this like reading as if it's concrete evidence, and because of this, they'll sort of, you know, leave a partner that they could have actually had a good life with, or sort of
Yeah.
cause problems in their own life, and they didn't need to. So it's very important that, like I always say to my people who come on my live streams, take everything that's said or done with a grain of salt and draw your own
Absolutely.
conclusion from it. You know, all we can do is sort of tell you what we think, but we're not saying that's the case. We're not saying that's 100% true. We're saying take what I'm saying and go elsewhere or think on it, and then draw your own conclusions from that. And I think that's mightily important.
That's why I don't do general readings. I hate them. I hate them with
Yeah.
a passion. If you need help or counsel with something, or if we're about to dive into a ritual, I'll, you know, pull out the tools for that. And like you, I prefer the runes. I've been working with the runes for a very long time. I will do tarot because people like it, and the tarot are cool, but the runes are just what it is for me. And,
Yeah.
you know, they're not really made, you know, they're not really for divination, but they do work. They
Oh
work
yeah.
on the deepest of levels. So, yeah. So, you have given me some great insights to everyone that's watching. I want to thank you so very much for your time today.
Oh, thank you very much. I enjoyed it. This is awesome. I do this a lot on my live streams and in my
Yeah.
channels. Just
Yeah, I
crazy
pop in
questions.
whenever I can. When I see you're on,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, Connor's on, I gotta watch. Wanted to put it out there that if anyone is not already subscribed to Connor, where can they find more about you?
Well, I'm on YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel, The Infernal Obelisk. I know people can't. People have a hard time spelling obelisk. It's Obelisk. And you can find me also on Facebook. I have a Facebook page there. I do multiple live streams weekly there, where I just jump on, have some crazy debates, conversations, and answer any question that I can possibly answer. So if you have any questions out there, you can come on there too. And yeah.
And I'll include all of those links in the description below. And you can find Connor's channel on in my featured channel section. So you can just click on that and see all the great content that he has and get right to it. So thank you so much. This was wonderful. I could chat with you forever, but we have things to do, and I hope we have the opportunity to chat again in the future.
Most definitely. Thank you very much for having me on here. It was a blast.
Thank you.
And until next time, I wish you dark and wild blessings.